We covered the not self in the last few days. Yesterday was a rather difficult topic to understand. The topic of Maya. Because Maya is not a thing. Maya, it's easy to understand a thing, something that, an idea or a thought. But Maya is not a thing, an object, process, an event. Those things are reasonably easy to understand, but Maya is not a thing. Maya is just the non-apprehension of yourself and the subsequent misapprehensions that arise as a result of that. Maya has two powers. It has the power to veil, and it has the power to project. It's called Avarana Shakti and Vikshepa Shakti. Maya hides, apparently hides the self, even though the self can't be hidden. The self is always present and always self-existent. It's never apart from you. It's always you. You're always present, but it apparently hides you. And because you're hidden from yourself, sounds strange, doesn't it? Huh? To say, isn't that weird to say that I don't know who I am? That you're looking for yourself? Huh? It's weird, isn't it? You are yourself. How can you look for yourself? How are you going to do that? You are yourself, so how are you going to look for it? Well, you're going to look for it because Maya's operating. Right? You don't know what it is, so you're looking for it. When I was a seeker, I was a hippie, and one time I came back from India after a couple of years, and I walked into my home. My mother was having tea on the patio with her lady friends. They were all ladies, sitting in the garden, having tea and chatting. And I just walked in, and I looked, I was a hippie. I'd just been to India, so I looked pretty rough. I had the long hair and the weird clothing and all that stuff. And Mother felt a little embarrassed because she was the town judge. And so but she was very polite, and so she wanted to introduce me, and she said, they all knew me, but she said, and this is my son James. He's been to India to find himself. They all giggled, they thought that was really funny. Why you would go all the way to India to find yourself. That's what Maya, Maya, it's impossible. Maya is defined as what makes the impossible possible. It's impossible that you not know who you are, because you are who you are. You always are what you are, all the time, every minute. But yet, you think you don't know who you are. You ask a question like, who am I? In Vedanta, we don't ask the question, who am I? We know very well. Does anybody have a doubt about who they are? Because if you do, I'll finish it for you right now. You're pure consciousness, okay? So don't ever ask that question again. Okay. You are pure, luminous, non-dual, actionless, ordinary, ever-present, unborn awareness. That's who you are. So we know very well who we are. But in Vedanta, we just realize that there's some ignorance, which is Maya, standing in the way of our appreciation of this fact. And so we're out to like destroy or get rid of our ignorance. That's all that Vedanta does. So when Maya is operating, it hides you from yourself, and then it makes you believe that what you see outside you is real. It makes you take what you do see with your senses and your mind, in other words, your feelings and your thoughts and the environment around you. It makes you believe that that's real. That's all Maya is. It's just tricking you. It's just a trick. And he described it. I'll just run through it briefly again, recapitulate what we taught yesterday, and then we'll move on to the next topic, which is the self. See, we're just finally getting to the self. This is what, the 6th day? We've been doing 6 days. We've had like 12 or 13 hours of teaching, and we haven't even got to the self yet. And there's a lot more to go once we get to the self, believe me. You think knowing the self's easy to know. Self is easy to know, no problem there. It's how to like uncover the self and live in it and gain that firm and lasting conviction that's the problem. So it says here, we did the subtle body, and then at verse 31 to 33, great verses. And I think, if I haven't, I will post my commentaries on these verses on the website. So check under the new satsang category. There's a satsang category, and then at the very bottom, then there are all the basic topics of Vedanta. At the bottom is new satsangs. And every month I put up about 100, 150 pages of satsangs on there. And if I didn't put this up on the last posting, I'll put it up in the next few days. So read that, read those commentaries. They'll be on there. And I'll just recapitulate this to bring the new people up to speed and to refresh the memory of you people who were here yesterday who heard the teaching about Maya. A power, Maya, resides in limitless awareness, consciousness. It is called the unmanifest and gives birth to the world. Maya, this is not a real creation, we said. This is an apparent creation. And the example we used was milk to cheese. If it's a real creation, then what? The self, or consciousness, has become this world, and it's no longer consciousness. Just like what? Milk becomes cheese. Once milk becomes cheese, you can never get milk back again, can you? So if awareness has become this world, then it's no longer what? Awareness. Because it's been transformed. That's called a parinama. It's been transformed into the world. Just like milk is transformed into cheese. Well, if that's true, then you can never get yourself back or find yourself, can you? So this creation, this Maya creation, is an apparent creation. It's called a simultaneous creation. And it's a projection that happens instantly, all the time. It's just a constant projection. Out of awareness, what? This power projects this world. And it's awareness appearing as the world. If this world is an appearance, then awareness hasn't what? Ceased to be what it is, then you haven't ceased to be what you are. And you can find who you are by what? Removing the apparent creation. And inquiry, the purpose of inquiry is simply to what? Deconstruct the apparent reality. You can do it because it's apparent. If this is a real world, you can't get rid of it. If it's real, you can't get rid of it. Real means not possible to get rid of it. Real means permanent and unchanging. You can't do anything about it. It's not a real world. It's an apparent world. This is why we can get rid of it. Okay. It is beginningless ignorance. It's beginningless why? Because it's a power that comes out of awareness, is contained in awareness. And since awareness has no beginning, the power of ignorance is always present. You can't find when it began. You can never say when ignorance began, because its source is awareness, and is of the nature of the three gunas. We explained those gunas and how for creation you need three powers. You need tamas, rajas, and sattva. You need a substance for the creation. The substance being what? Awareness. But you need to transform non-dual, limitless, formless, insubstantial awareness into a substance. And the power in awareness that does that is called tamas. It makes the objects. The objects change. All the objects appearing in the field of awareness change. And that what? The reason they transform or change is because of rajas. In other words, a power in Maya called rajas makes it what? Makes all the substance, all the objects change. This is why the Buddhists say it's anitya. This is an impermanent creation. It's impermanent. It's never the same from one second to the next. That's the power of rajas. It's transforming the matter instantly, all the time. The scientists will tell you this. And we absolutely accept any valid means of knowledge in the Maya world. We don't accept the scientific model as a valid means of knowledge for consciousness, because it isn't. But it's a valid means of knowledge for matter. And they're right. Matters, it can't be created or destroyed means what? It's consciousness. They're afraid to say that, but they'll say it can't be created or destroyed. But they won't call it consciousness, and they won't identify it with themselves. But they're right. It can't be created or destroyed because it's consciousness. It can just transform endlessly through these two powers, and what? The power to shape, if you observe the creation, the power to know, or the power of knowledge, comes about by the sattva guna. Sattva guna is the power of knowledge, or the power of intelligence. To transform a substance into a form, you need an idea. And to get that idea to operate on the matter, you need rajas, you need energy. And so consciousness is both the naimittika karanam, that is the intelligent cause for the creation, and it's the upadana karanam, the substance out of which the creation is made. So God, or the Creator, is not sitting far away in some transcendental sky somewhere else and didn't create the world 5,000 years ago, according to Christians. How many days was it? 5,000 something. They actually think that God made the world 5,000 years ago. Right now here, consciousness is generating this whole show instantaneously all the time, at every second. It's just being maintained by a projection. And the projection is going at such a high rapid speed that it looks like it's solid. It appears to be real. It seems to be real. And our bodies and minds are born in it, and everything feels real. We can experience things in it. It's so weird. It is so weird that this is just a poof. It's just a projection. And because of the veiling power of Maya, the ignorance of Maya, we take our experience to be real. We take the objects to be real, we take ourselves to be real, and we take our transaction with the objects as to be real, but they're not. We've got to. So the whole problem here is how to dissolve this Maya, this ignorance. Now, so far we talked about macrocosmic ignorance. We talked about the whole creation. Okay, does that mean when you get enlightened the whole creation disappears? No, it does not. Many people think that. They think that when you go inside and realize the self, then the world's going to disappear. The macrocosmic creation, the macrocosmic ignorance is very intelligent. It's very beautiful and it's very intelligent. It's all set up and it's so beautiful. It's not going to go away. That's Ishvara's creation. Ishvara is awareness associated with the power of Maya. Awareness is not a creator. Awareness is uncreated and it's not a doer. So it's not doing or it's not creating. But when the power of Maya is associated with awareness, it becomes a creator and it projects this whole big macrocosmic illusion. Illusion's the wrong word. Projection. Dream. It projects this dream. And within that, Jiva appears. Jiva means the living being, the conscious being. We talked about that yesterday, the Jivatman. And that Jiva has his or her own personal ignorance. That's called avidya. Okay? That's called avidya. It's Maya, but it's avidya, because it belongs to the individual, to the microcosm. So when you get enlightened, you're not removing Maya. Maya or Ishvara is going to remain projecting the total. What you're going to do when you get enlightened is you're going to get rid of your own avidya, your personal ignorance, and then you're going to realize you're what? One with Ishvara. The first verse today says, on the nature of the self, it says, "Now I will teach the nature of the limitless self." This is verse 34. "Now I will teach the nature of the limitless self, knowing which one is freed from bondage." Okay, it's what? A negative gain. In other words, I'm getting rid of my own ignorance, my personal ignorance, but what am I going to get back? Oneness with everything that is. I'm getting a positive gain. I'm discovering my identity with Ishvara. In other words, I don't see, when my avidya is removed, I don't see you as anything other than me. Or you don't see me as anything other than you. Think about that. Maya is going to remain. The Maya world, the big projection, the duality, the plurality, the multiplicity is going to remain, but what? I'm not going to what? Feel separate from you or anything in my creation. Well, my body, I'm not going to feel separate from my mind, because those are all what? Projections. Or any other object, any other person particularly. Now think about that in terms of human happiness. That means what? I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not going to cheat you. I'm not going to injure you in any way. Why? Because you're me. If you're something other than me, if I believe the projection of my ignorance, I may lie to you, cheat you, injure you in some way. But when I can see for sure that you're non-separate from me, that I'm one with you, I won't hurt you at all. In fact, I'll do what I do to myself. I'll love you, because I love me. Problem solved. So this power is, it's called beginningless ignorance. It is nature of the three gunas, and it's beyond the three gunas. It's triguna atita, the scripture says. Atita means beyond the gunas. Beyond the change, beyond the transportation, beyond experience. Sorry, I've got the wrong chart here. I'm set up for the next verse. It's beyond experience. The self is beyond experience. Experience is taking place in Maya. Because when Maya comes, the what? Awareness appears as a subject and an object. The experiencing entity, the subtle body, and the objects appear when Maya is operating. That's okay. But Maya is not going to disappear. What's going to happen? Ignorance is going to go. And the example we use for that, and I mentioned this a couple of days ago, is the example of a mirage on the desert. When you realize who you are, it's not like the snake disappearing off the rope. It's like the Maya, the mirage remains, but what? I know it's not water. So I'm not what? attracted to it or repelled by it. So I get to live in this world, enjoy this world without being burned by it. In fact, I get to make love with it because it's me. The benefit. This is the positive gain here. It's not just getting rid of ignorance, it's what? Getting this amazingly positive connection with everything. And it's a connection that you don't have to maintain. Everyone says, oh, I feel so connected, or I'm so disconnected. Let's connect. You ought to connect. Well, this is a connection you don't have to do. This is a connection you can't have to break. Why? Because it's knowledge. No. It's understanding. It's what stands under you. It's your support. You can count on it, as knowledge is what you can always count on. When you see that you are non-separate from everything, problem solved. No more doing, no more need to connect. Right? In other words, the doer disappears. That part of you that wants to connect, that's born out of ignorance of its own nature, that part just dissolves and disappears, and you feel connected. Feeling's not quite the right word. You know you're connected to everything, irrespective of your feelings. Let's put it that way. When the Rajas and Tamas has gone out of your mind, then you'll pretty much feel connected to everything. This power is a great wonder and cannot be rationally explained because it's neither real. If it's real, you can't get rid of it, can you? Nor is it non-existent. It exists because we've got the world. If you've got the world, then Maya's operating, so it's not non-existent. You remember we took the piss out of the neos who say that the world doesn't exist, and I don't exist. It definitely exists. You cannot experience something that doesn't exist. The very fact that they say you're not existing means that they are experiencing something. They're just trying to deny the existence of something that they are experiencing. That's all. It's not, nor is it a combination of what? Of real and non-existent. Because you can't put non-existence and reality into the same locus. Because they don't fit. The one is opposite the other. So they won't fit. It's like light and darkness, day and night. You can't get the, so it can't be a combination of the two. You can't combine those two. Reality and non-existence. In fact, we said yesterday, there's no such thing as non-existence. I know the Buddhists and their ideas about non-existence. Shunya, the void. It's all void. There's nothing. There's no such thing as nothing. It's totally dumb concept. It's not only dumb, it's just ignorant. Totally ignorant. Why? Because there's only consciousness. This is a non-dual reality and there's only consciousness. That means there's no such thing as non-existence. There's only existence. Awareness, only consciousness, only existence. So no such thing. It's just a concept. Based upon the apparent absence of objects. When objects are gone, you say there's nothing. Oh yeah. That's what people say. When there's no objects, like in deep sleep, you say, very often say, well, what did you experience in deep sleep? And you'll say, oh, nothing. Well, hey, what did you leave out? Me. So you're nothing? The one who's saying nothing is nothing? Nothing can't say nothing, can it? So actually there's the presence of something there, what? When there's the absence of objects. And what is the presence of something? That's me, awareness. So there is no such thing as non-existence. Get this very clear. This will get rid of, clear out a lot of spiritual rubbish that's in your head that's been picked up by these various traditions that don't really understand what the self is, that just have some certain experiences of samadhi, nirvikalpa samadhi, and deep sleep, to like develop these concepts of non-existence. There's no such thing as non-existence. It is not separate nor non-separate from consciousness, nor is it made up of parts. We talked about that. The unmanifest causal body is Maya, appears as the three gunas and is the causal body of awareness. We said the causal body means it causes me to what? Act. Why do I act in this world? To get results. Why do I want results? Because I feel incomplete. This is why it's ignorance. I'm not incomplete, but I act to get things that will make me feel complete, which means I'm ignorant of my nature. That's why it's called a karana sharira. It's the body that makes me act. Why are you? You're not going to act what? If you're okay, are you? If you're complete. And if you do act, you can act from wholeness, completeness. But you won't care about the results of the action. You'll just act out of happiness and joy, won't you? So there'll be no sense that you need to complete yourself through this action or satisfy yourself through the action. Because you're already whole and complete, so you can act freely. This is why the jnanis, the enlightened people, they don't care what happens. Bad karma, good karma, it's all the same. Because they're already full. So the bad karma, the negative experiences don't invalidate them, and the positive experiences don't validate them. See, when you're in Maya, you're looking at reality, and you're trying to like validate yourself with reference to reality. If something bad happens, you think there's something wrong with you, don't you? You think you did something wrong, or you made some mistake, or there was some bad karma. And when something good happens, you think you're pretty wonderful. You think, oh, I got it knocked. I'm pretty sharp. Cool. Isn't it? That's just allowing experience to validate you is like having the tail wagging the dog. You got it backwards. You got it absolutely backwards. You're letting Maya tell you who you are. But Maya hasn't got a clue who you are. Maya means experience. You're allowing your experiences to validate or invalidate you. See, it's just backwards. The Maya world is like night, and awareness is like day. There's a beautiful verse in the Bhagavad Gita that says that. It says, what's day for an enlightened person is night for a worldly person. What's day for a worldly person is night for an enlightened person. It's just totally opposite views. And what is the state of, what is the natural state? We said the natural, what was the natural state for the subtle body, for the karana, for the sukshma sharira? Dream. And what is the natural state for the Maya, the causal body? Deep sleep. There the self is experiencing itself without what? Limitation. In fact, the deep sleep state's called, that the experiencer, when the self is experiencing in deep sleep, it's called prajna. The rishis were really cool. They put the really neatest names on these things. If you understand the meaning of those names, you'll see there's always, very often, a great sense of humor in the way they chose the names for these various principles of the self. And prajna is called, prajna means almost enlightened. That's what it means. In deep sleep, you're almost enlightened. Why? Because you're experiencing bliss and the limitless. You have no limits and you feel great. But what's missing? What's the little bit that's missing? You don't know. That's where the joy comes. That's why moksha is in the waking state only. Then you get the joy. You get the bliss in the deep sleep state, but you get the joy by knowing. It's only knowledge that's lacking in the deep sleep state. All you experience, everything's the same as yourself in the deep sleep state, but the knowledge is gone. So prajna, almost enlightened. Okay. Now I will teach the nature of the limitless self. Okay, so we got rid of Maya. That's not self. Maya's causing what? The subtle and the gross bodies and the 5 elements. And on Wednesday we're going to take, when I get the chart, we're going to take up how the material world's created and the 5 elements. That's an aspect of this teaching that I left out. It's quite complicated. It'll take us time to work through it. But that's also mentioned in all the texts. Because we have to explain, we're going to explain everything here. We have to explain the material creation and how it evolves. Not just the psychological creation, but the material creation. We're going to see exactly how it evolves out of these out of the 5 elements and the 3 gunas. The causal body is at 5 elements and 3 gunas. It's all one, but we're breaking it down for the purposes of our understanding. So I'm going to teach the nature. Now we're getting to the self. I'll teach the nature of the limitless self, knowing which one is free from bondage, and attain one with everything that is. Okay, we just said that. You're going to get what? This is what you're going to get out of it. You're going to get oneness with everything. You're not just going to stop being ignorant. You're going to get the positive joy of feeling one, being one with everything. And so now we're talking about awareness. Okay. How are we doing here? Yeah. We'll probably have to, okay. Say you're walking along the street. You're just walking along. And somebody else is walking in the opposite direction, like this. And you come close together and you meet, you stop. And you don't say anything. You don't open your mouth. And the other person doesn't open his or her mouth either. Nobody said a word. Okay? Everybody's enlightened until they open their mouth. So if you want to be enlightened, just keep your mouth shut. In fact, in India is full of these fakers, these poseurs, these swamis. They just figured out how to get a free meal, so they just shut up. And everybody thinks they're in silence. Right? And they start worshiping, and then they feed them, and then they make gurus out of them. Because they know that as soon as they open their mouth, all this rubbish is going to come out. And you'll know very well that they're idiots. But you think, oh, it's silence. They're in mauna. Now, okay, you come here, the other person is there. What do you see? What do you experience in that situation? Nobody said a word. Nobody's thought anything or said anything at all. What actually do you perceive there? You perceive 2 things. What are they? You experience a body. That's correct. No, you won't see the vasanas.
Kind of projection?
No. Awareness. You see awareness. Now you don't see awareness directly, okay? You see the linga sharira. Remember? We said the subtle body is the linga sharira. Linga sharira means a sign. You see a sign of awareness. What is that sign? The subtle body, you see a light, awareness, reflected on the subtle body. And the person is alive. That's what you see. You see life or light, awareness. It's reflected awareness, but that's good enough for now, for this understanding. You see awareness and you see a body. Isn't that? Which is the self? Where's the self involved in this? Okay. Now you open your mouth and you say, who are you? Huh? Say, who are you to that other person? What do you get? Have you ever come up to a stranger before and said, who are you? Have you ever heard them say, I'm awareness? Huh? No, you haven't. Except me. People, I used to have fun doing that, just to take the piss out of people. They expected me to start talking about Jim, you know. And I'm so bored with myself, believe me. I can't talk about myself anymore. It just, So I just play joke. I thought, I'm awareness. Where are you from? Brahmaloka. Brahmaloka. No, okay. You never say I'm awareness. Why? Because you don't think you're awareness. That's why. What do you think you are? You think you're a person, don't you? You think you're the experiencing entity, that you come from a certain place, that you were born at a certain time, that you did this and that you're, a man or a woman or whatever it is, that you're gay, you're straight, you're whatever. No. You've got a million things to say about yourself. That's basically who I think I am, isn't it? Experience will not show you that person, will it? Experience will show you awareness and a body. Now you can choose which one is real or which one is the actual person there. So suddenly out of this person's mouth comes what? A whole limited identity. And now I'm meant to what? Make out who you are from what? An interpretation that you've made of experiences that are what? Not even present right now. In other words, a lot of things happen to this body and mind over a long period of time. And rightly or wrongly, you interpreted those experiences in a certain way, and you said, but I am this, and you cobbled together all of those interpretations of these experiences, not even the experience itself, because the experience is long gone. What you've carried away from the experience is what? A whole bunch of ideas which you put into this big bundle called me. Now, honestly, how am I meant to relate to that? Because I got the same thing here too, huh? I've got a whole bunch of experiences which I've interpreted my way, according to me, and that's all cobbled together in this big bundle of thoughts and feelings and ideas that I call me. And how is that bundle going to relate to this other bundle? How's that going to work? Huh? How are you going to actually unravel what's actually taking place there? Because it's just like a big ball of spaghetti worms, experiences and ideas and stuff. Think about it. The astrology, the Enneagram. Oh, he's an 8 with a 7 wing. What? He's a Pisces with a moon in Aries and a such and such in 3 planets in earthly triplicity or something. Huh? Okay, think about it. Who in the hell are you talking to there? Who is it? You can't make a sense. There's no way to make any sense out of one bundle of silly ideas talking to another bundle of silly ideas and trying to connect. Every time there's a little bit of similarity between one of my ideas and your ideas, there's, I feel connected. Until what? The next idea comes up. And then what? I'm disconnected. Now I've got to figure out, now who am I talking to now? Because, how real are you? Huh? And you're trying to make this thing work for you? And interact with another one of those things, whatever they are. I don't know what you call those people. Jivas. Ignorant jivas. The self is just the light or the awareness that's shining out from the body there. Why not? If you want something to relate to, and what? And the self is the one that's shining out from behind your eyes. Why not just relate to that one directly? Why not just, That's something you can always count on. That's something that will always be there, isn't it? Self is like this. You know, if you got a light bulb, just a regular light, that illumines anything, a room, let's say a light bulb in a room. And where is it getting its electricity? It's getting its electricity from the mains, from the current, from the grid. So there's a wire that comes out of the grid, it goes through, it comes in, it excites those tungsten filament, and then light comes out. It vibrates that little filament, and then that produces light, so you can see things. But the self is like a big light bulb that was never born. It was always here. It didn't come into being at a certain time. It never shuts off, and what? It's not connected to any source. But it provides light infinitely and endlessly without any effort. This is why when you discover you're the self, you're free. What? You're not what? Drawing energy. You're not getting anything from any other place. You're self-contained. The self is self-revealing. The self is self-existent. It exists on its own. It's self-evident. You don't need any other light to see yourself in. Like, huh? I was walking out on the street the other day, and I saw this guy, and he had a flashlight, and he was going like this, point. You know, in Tirwanama, there's a lot of people who are very light in the loafers. And he had a flashlight, and he was shining at the sun. I said, "Hey, what are you doing?" He said, "Oh, I want to see the sun. I got my light so I can see the sun." Excuse me? Hey, you don't need a flashlight to see the sun. The sun is revealed in its own light, isn't it? What do you need to be what you are? What do you need?
Nothing.
Nothing. Yeah. No, you need knowledge to discover what you are, but to be what you are, you don't need knowledge. You need knowledge to get rid of the notion that you're what? Something other than what you are, but you don't need knowledge to be what you are, because you're there prior to knowledge and ignorance. You're self-existent. You reveal yourself to yourself. That's what it says here. Awareness is self-existence. And how do you see it? Huh? Where do you see it? It's always manifest in the I thought. That's in the linga, in the linga sharira. This is how you access the self. You can't access it directly, but experientially you can access the self through the subtle body. Because the self is like the sun, we said yesterday, and the what? The subtle body is like the moon. It's reflective. And so you can see the self reflected in what? In your heart. They often call it the heart. The subtle body is also called the heart. If you notice in that other chart, we had the mind, intellect, and ego, and then the little self, the jivatma, in between those. That's called the hridaya, or the spiritual heart. That's where you see it. It means in the subtle body it's reflected. In the I thought, what does the I thought mean? I means what? I exist. That's why it's called isness. Normally when you see an object, you say the camera is. You say the camera is. You're thinking of that isness in terms of time and space, because what? That camera cannot be, can't it? It was someplace else, now it is here, and soon it will be gone again. So that isness is what? Conditional. But this is an isness that never goes away. Now, what part of you never goes away? There's a part of you that's you have never, ever, ever not, has never, ever, ever not been there, that you've never, ever not experienced.
So,
Yeah, I. The self, the I, me, have always been here. Is there any time when you weren't here? Was there any time when the I was not here? No. That's how you find, that's where you look for the self, in the I thought. It's telling you where to look. Who is this I? Do you exist? Yes. How do you exist? As awareness. Awareness and existence are the same, exactly the same. They're synonyms. And how do they exist? As I. Are you I? Yes. I'm I. What is the nature of the I? I exist. I am aware. When you investigate or examine the I, can you find a time when it did not exist? No. You can't. Just think about it. Just think right now in your mind, try to find a time when you didn't exist. Can you find one? No, you can't. And try to find a time when you won't exist. Can't do that either, can you? As the I. Okay, we're not talking the body now. Understand, we're talking the self. We've already got out the body out of the way. We already understood that's not us. It's an object appearing in us and it comes and goes. We're talking about the I now. Is there any time when it's not present? No. Think about it. This is meditation on the I. When you don't understand that I, then what? You take yourself to be the lingish, or the subtle body, or the gross body, and then you've got a problem, because sometimes you exist and sometimes you don't, which we're going to see in a minute. In the next verse, we're going to take this up after the break. We're going to take it up. So, okay. It always manifests in the I shall thought, and it's distinct from the 5 sheaths, Panchakosha. Now in my chart, I had, it looked like there were 3 bodies, but there also are 5 sheaths. The 5 sheaths are the 5 levels of experience that exist in Maya. In Maya, there's 5 levels of experience. Those are called the Panchakoshas. Kosha means a sheath. Like a sword is stuck in a sheath to protect it. So it's sometimes said that the self is like stuck inside these sheaths. It's hidden in like the core of an onion, and there's these layers around it, and those layers are preventing you from seeing it or experiencing it, and you need to peel away those 5 layers to get at the core. This is called the Panchakosha teaching. In other words, there's 5 levels of experience, and those things are supposedly, according to some of the teachings, these are modern, what called modern Vedanta or new Vedanta. And we're going to leave it, Neo-Advaita out of it, because they haven't even got that far. So we won't even bother with them right now. In the new Vedanta, which came up about 100 and some years ago with Vivekananda and his crew, there they said that these 5 sheaths are hiding the self, and you've got to peel them away. Well, you do, but you don't have to peel them away experientially. They're just what? False understandings, false identifications of the I with different aspects of the gross, subtle, and causal body. And the first sheath is called Annamaya Kosha. Anna means food. Maya Kosha means a sheath. What would that be? I'm fat. Okay? If you say I'm fat, or I'm fit, okay, there's another one. If you say I'm fit, I can't say that. I can say I'm fat, but I can't say I'm fit. But you can say you're fit, because you're fit. You go to the gym. Now, is that true? Is it true that you're fat or you're fit? No. It is not true. The I is neither fat nor fit. The eye is the knower of the fat and the fit, isn't it? The body's fat and fit, or fit, isn't it? It has nothing to do with me. So to say I'm fat or I'm fit means what? I'm under the what? Spell of this kosha, this sheath. I think I'm my body. So I've taken the eye and I've superimposed the eye on the body. It's called superimposition, adhyaropa it's called. I've superimposed it. I've taken the eye, stuck it on the body where it doesn't belong. The eye doesn't belong on the body. The eye belongs with what? Awareness. The eye goes with awareness. It doesn't go with the body. So that's called Annamaya kosha. Then the next kosha is called what? Pranamaya kosha. I'm strong. I'm hungry. I'm thirsty. You ever say that? I'm hungry. There, what are you doing? You've identified with the pranamaya kosha. Pranamaya kosha means the physiological systems, hunger, thirst, so forth and so on. Circulation, digestion, excretion, absorption, all of these. There's a whole layer of energy. It's born out of the Rajoguna. It's born out of the Rajas element of the Maya, of the Maya Shakti. And it makes the physical stuff work. So there you've identified what? Is the eye hungry? No. Is the eye thirsty? No. Is the eye circulating? No. But when you say I'm thirsty, you've made a confusion, you've superimposed. Okay, the next level is called Manomaya kosha. Manomaya kosha means I'm happy, I'm sad. How are you today? I'm happy today. It's Christmas. I got a birthday present. I got a Christmas present. I'm sad today. My girlfriend left me. Hey, the eye doesn't have a girlfriend. The eye doesn't have a boyfriend. Huh? Your emotional stuff. You've identified with your feelings and emotions. So you say, I'm depressed today. That's Manomaya kosha. The eye is what? Joined with or superimposed on the feelings, and so you got yourself like hung up there. Oh, I need therapy. I've got to get unhooked from these bad feelings I've got here. I need therapy. Oh, that's you. You don't need therapy. You need thinking. You need to think clearly. Because the I, you, are not happy and not sad. Sadness comes, happiness comes. They appear in me as what? Objects. Remember, we said at the very beginning, there's only two categories in existence. The subject and the object. And the subject can't be the object. The object can be the subject, but the subject can't be the object. So if there's a feeling there, it can't be me. Just think about it. This is just logic. This is not intellectual logic.
Oh, Ramji, that's all intellectual Vedanta. We want experiential Vedanta.
This is not intellectual logic. This is just the logic of experience. It's just the way things are. You can't be what you see. You're the seer and the object is the seen. Driksha viveka. There's a discrimination between the seer and the seen. Anatma viveka means a discrimination between the atma, the awareness, and the objects appearing in awareness. That's manomaya. Okay, vijnanamaya kosha. That's the fourth sheet. Vijnanamaya kosha means what? I'm enlightened. Huh? Hey, you heard that one? You ever heard that one? That's the biggest bullshit there is. The I they're talking about is not enlightened. That's the intellect chief. There the intellect has co-opted the position of the self, has superimposed its desire to be enlightened on awareness, and claims that it's enlightened. There the I is what identified with the intellect and claims, why is I am enlightened not true? Why is it not true?
Because you already are.
Because you're the light. To say I'm enlightened presupposes what? That you couldn't be enlightened, doesn't it? It presupposes that you weren't enlightened, doesn't it? But if you're awareness, were you ever not awareness? No. So then why are you saying you're enlightened?
Ignorance.
Yeah, ignorance, that's correct. You are ignorant if you say I'm enlightened. You have no idea who you are. The intellect, the Vijnanamaya kosha, has what? Co-opted this knowledge and tried to claim that it's the self. The intellect is not the self. The intellect is a function of the what? Linga Sharira. Remember, it's a function in the subtle body. It's not the self. It's never going to be the self. It's never going to get the self. It's never going to think the self or know the self. The self only knows itself by itself. All we're doing is taking away the dumb notions that are there in the intellect. That's why Vedanta is a pramana for the self, because it takes away the dumb notions that the intellect has about the nature of reality. So that's Vijnanamaya kosha. And what's the final sheath, the fifth sheath? That's called Anandamaya kosha. Anandamaya means the bliss sheath. That's where you feel good. That's where you go when you get what you want. That's where you go when you go to sleep at night. That's a deep sleep state. That's why it's Ananda. Anda means end, Ananda means limitless. You feel limitless. Because you are experiencing yourself as limitless, you feel good. You don't have any problems. Because what? In that sheath, in that level of experience, there are no divisions. In the Linga Sharira, in the subtle body, it's all broken up. Your experience is all broken up by various experiences, by thoughts and feelings and all this. A constantly changing matrix of energy is happening there. But in this kosha, in this sheath, in the Anandamaya kosha, what? There's just bliss. You get it when you go to sleep, and you get it when you get what you want. When your desires or fears are temporarily abated through the attainment of an object or the avoidance of a particular object, then you feel blissful, you feel happy. It's called Anandamaya kosha. And what does it say here? You are distinct from all 5 levels of experience. Those things don't have anything to do with you. Get this very clear. This is why I said earlier, we had to get rid of this experiential notion of enlightenment. This is why. It's just showing you. When you do the analysis, enlightenment can't be experiential. Because the self is what? Distinct from the sheath. Distinct from experience. In other words, you're always free of experience. And finally, witness of the 3 states of experience, which leads us to the next topic. And after the break, after 10-15 minutes, we'll come back and we'll analyze the 3 states of experience for your edification. Om Bhadram Karnebihi Shrunuyama Deva Bhadram Pashyemakshabirya Jatra Stirayangayish Tushtuvam Sastanobihi Vyashema Devahitam Yadayuhu Swastina Indro Vridashrabaha Swastina Pusha Vishwaveda Swastina Starksho Arishtanebihi Swastino Brihaspatir Dadatu Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Okay, verse 35, awareness is self-existent, always manifest as the I thought, distinct from the the five sheaths, panchakosha, and witness of the three states of experience. Just to give you a Christmas gift, this teaching is from the Mandukya Upanishad. Mandukya, there are about 110 extant Upanishads. There were thousands at one time. Most of them have been lost. 110 remain, of which 10 are considered to be major Upanishads, of which the Mandukya is said to be the king of the Upanishads. The Mandukya is a very cogent and insightful analysis of experience. We're not against experience. We're all for experience. Experience is great. You just want to separate the knower from the experiencer, that's all. And so we need to analyze experience and see what's available in experience and what experience teaches us. You're chasing around experience over and over and over again, it means you haven't learned anything. Because experience is here to teach us something. There's a lesson. There's knowledge hidden in every experience. Knowledge means the self. The self is always present. And self-knowledge is always available in every experience. If you're smart, if you're an inquiring person, you can extract that knowledge out of the experience. And what we're going to do now is analyze the common experience of all beings, of all people. There's only one person here. Did you know that, don't you? There's the self with three bodies. No, there's no individuals here. Does anybody think there's a unique individual? No, you're not. You're just one self with three bodies. So this experiential teaching applies to everybody. In your head you think you're really special and unique because you identified with all those experiences that your body and your mind had. So you have this notion that you're a special, unique, individual person. But there's only one self and three bodies. You're the one self and you got the same three bodies, you got the same self as everybody, and you got the same three bodies as everybody. So nobody's got any, huh? That's a letdown, isn't it? Huh? That's more bad news.
What? I'm not unique. I want to be unique. I'm special. I'm unique.
No, no such thing. Owing to your ignorance of yourself, you want to feel special and unique. There's not one unique or special thing about you at all. You're just a self with three bodies. Yeah, it's not it's a sad story, I know, it's terrible. I'll hand out handkerchiefs after the talk. You can all weep. No, there's only one self, three bodies. And that self, what? Apparently experiences. Experience is apparent, it's not real. It exists, but it's not real. And so we're going to analyze apparent experience. If there's any experiencer, it's got to be the self, even though the self is not an experiencer. And what is it going to be experiencing? Itself in the form of these three states. This is called the Avastatraya teaching, the three states teaching. Okay? And what the Upanishad says is that consciousness turned outward is called the waker. There's a special word for him called Vishwa. Vishwa means the one who sees objects. This is consciousness. This Om here represents consciousness, okay? And the Om symbol came from this. The Om symbol came from this Upanishad. They developed that symbol out of this Upanishad. This thing that looks like an E is Ah, which represents the waking state. This little curlicue over here, U, represents the dream state, and the umlaut, this little thing on the top, the little hat, represents the deep sleep state. You put all those three together and you got consciousness, manifest as experience. That's where the symbol came from. So this Om represents yourself. This is just a visual symbol of yourself. That sound that we just chanted is what? A sound symbol of yourself. Do you hear all the voices just blend into one? Huh? You couldn't even tell any individual person in there, could you? It's just one sound is created. The Om is just that one sound or that one vibration. That's a sound symbol for the self. This is a visual symbol for the self. So the self appears as a waking state with 13, actually the text says 18, but it didn't work well with my graphical representation, so I left off 5 mouths. It says it has 18 or 13 mouths, the waker. What? What are you talking about? Mouths? What does that mean? It's a symbol, obviously. What does a mouth do? It eats. It consumes. This is consciousness turned outward. You see the arrows are all shooting out? It's an extroverted consumer. That's all. The fancy words and all that. It just means an extroverted person who's out there consuming, eating, eating, eating. What is he eating?
Experience.
Yeah. Yep. Correct. Lyndon's he's always on top of it. Yeah, he's eating experience. He's an experience-hungry mouth. He's just, give me what? Give me sense pleasures. Give me food. Give me air. Give me water. Give me what? Emotions. Give me sex. Give me ideas. Give me. I want. Like a pig. This is that piggy part of you that just can't, what? Sit still and do nothing. That's just constantly consuming, eating, devouring experiences. Every one of these organs here, intellectually, I need new ideas. You guys are hungry, you're inquirers. And Ramji, wow, he's serving up a hell of a feast, isn't he? Vedanta, never heard such a big, a big table full of ideas, have you? You haven't, really. I know. That's why you're still eating, because these are great ideas. This is a big feast, and I need what? I understand, I need some more understanding. And my intellect wants to hear, wants to know. In fact, we said the whole purpose is to convert our desire for experience into a desire to know. So the intellect wants to know. It's hungry for knowledge. The emotions are hungry for what? Feelings. For love. Okay. Anybody doesn't want more love or want love? If you haven't got it, you want it. If you got it, you want more of it. Huh? Aren't your emotions, are they ever satisfied? No, they just, no matter how much love you get, you crave more and more and more and more. That's called Vishwa, the waker. It's consciousness, awareness turned outward. Okay? This is the person you think you are. General, isn't it? Don't you think you're this person? Yeah. This is the guy on your driver's license. This is the guy on your passport. Person on your passport, driver's license. This is the one that's looking for experiences in life, going here and there, wanting more and more, trying to gain experience. It's called Vishwa, the waker. Now, consciousness has another state. When consciousness, awareness, right, functions through Vishwa, then you get the normal, everyday experience, waking state experience. When consciousness functions through the dreamer, it's turned inward. See the arrows? Got the same arrows, but here, what are you experiencing? I should have, it doesn't look good on the chart, but we should have our ring of these around here, our vasanas. Huh? If you could see it, if we could make a bigger chart, I could put the V's on it. And around here, there's all these vasanas, remember? It's the vasanas that are driving you for experience, right? In other words, your conditioning is causing you to go out and keep wanting more and more. So here, the vasanas are driving you outside to look, but here, in this state, in the dream state, consciousness, or the Om, is experiencing what? A world. You have a dream world. You can go to dream satsang, you can go to dream Ramanashram, you can go to dream disco, you can go to the dream bank, you can fight with your dream husband or wife, you got a whole world inside yourself here, in the dream world, and there what are you experiencing? Your vasanas in the form of imagery. Pictures. The vasanas are operating here too. But since the senses are not, the physical senses are not there, you don't see the outside world, you see the inside world. That inside dream world is what manufactured out of your vasanas, which what? You picked up in the waking state. But it doesn't look quite the same here because the physical senses are not there structuring your experience in this predictable way. The reason it looks so, actually everything here is like totally oceanic and unstructured. It's scary, really. But fortunately you've got a body that's structuring it in a certain way. It makes it look kind of predictable and kind of safe. But if you get your body off this and you start looking, right, from the self's point of view, this thing is scary here. This is why people don't want to stop thinking. Why they just cling on to experience. Because reality is really, it's not structured at all. It's the senses that are structuring it and making it look familiar and comfortable. Well, in this state, you haven't got the physical senses to structure your experience. You've got sense organs. The organs are operating here, but the sense instruments are not operating. And so, because you can smell and feel and taste and touch and so forth and so on in the dream. You can smell things in dreams, taste things in dreams. You can have sex in dreams. You can do all kinds of things in dreams that you can do here, and a few extras because you're not conditioned by the physical sense instruments. So in this dream world, your consciousness is turned inward and you're just experiencing your vasanas. When you're in this world, do you take it to be real? Yep, you do. When you're in this world, do you take it to be real? Yeah. So which is the real one? Real means what? Doesn't change, always the same, eternal. Which is the real state here? Neither one. That means what? All this stuff we're doing here is unreal, isn't it? How does that feel? How does it, when you think about it, how does it feel to know that you're running around, an unreal person in an unreal world, trying to find what? Reality. How does that feel? Doesn't feel so good, does it, when you think about it? If you believe this one's real when you're here, and you believe this one's real when you're here, which one's real? Isn't there a statement by Chung Tzu said, I don't know if I'm did Chung Tzu, what was it? Butterfly. Chung Tzu dreaming he was a butterfly, or was a butterfly dreaming he was Chung Tzu? What was it? He didn't know whether he's Chung Tzu or the butterfly. Butterfly dreaming the person, or the person dreaming the butterfly? It's neither one of these. It can't be real. I take it to be real. See where the problem is? I'm taking this to be real, but it can't be real, can it? If it's not real, then why am I chasing all this stuff? Because I only chase things because I think they're real, don't I? Yeah. I only chase things because I believe they're real. You won't chase something that's not real. But now you know that it's not real, then why are you still chasing it? Why are you still chasing things here? Why?
Because causa of vasanas.
Yeah, because of ignorance is making you what? Forget. Is covering your knowledge, your Maya, ignorance is covering your knowledge and allowing you to what? Chase something that's not real, believing that it is real. See how Maya works? It can't be real, but you believe it's real. Okay, 2 states. Now, consciousness has a 3rd state. That's called the deep sleep state. He said, oh, and he's got a special name. Let's back up. He's got a special name here, and we'll get to that name in a minute. This dreamer is called Tejasa. Tejasa has a particular meaning, and I'll explain in a minute. This guy, we already said, is Pranya. He's almost enlightened. We just had a little taste about this state here a few minutes ago. Tejasa, this is called Pranya. He's almost enlightened. And in this state, what? There's no external. Consciousness is not projected out, nor is consciousness turned in. What is consciousness? It's just one big blob or mass of consciousness. It has no limits. It's not broken up. There are no instruments here for experience. That's why you don't experience objects. Here you have instruments for experience, but here, in this state, you have no instruments, so you can't experience objects. Right? So all you're experiencing is consciousness is experiencing itself as what? Limitlessness. It has no limits, and bliss. That's the Ananda Maya Kosha. We just talked about it just before the break. The bliss of Brahman, the bliss of yourself, is experienced directly in this state. Minus the knowledge. That's why the pranya is almost enlightened. Okay. There is no 4th state. Let's get this clear. You've all heard this. Probably most. If you're here in India, you've heard about Turiya. Huh? And all the new Vedanta people, and they leave off the neos, they don't even know about it. Now we're going to look at the new Vedanta, the modern Vedanta people. They say that there's a 4th state because they translate that word Turiya, Turiya means the 4th, as a 4th state. But that's not what the Upanishad says. These are your experienced people who read the Upanishad, what? From an experiential point of view. They didn't actually know Sanskrit or know what the teaching was actually saying. So they projected their desire for experience into that word, the 4th, and they made up or created a 4th state of consciousness, a higher state, a transcendental state, a state. Whenever you see the word state, the red light should go dun, 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 like an ambulance. That means they're idiots. Generally it means they're idiots. They don't know what they're talking about, and you should stop and think about this Upanishad and this teaching, because the self is not a 4th state. The self is a fact. It says, what the Upanishad says, that in addition to these 3 states, there is another factor that's in all these states and beyond all these states. That's both immanent and transcendent. It's the same thing that's immanent in the states and transcendent beyond those states. But it's not a state. Why? Because it doesn't change. These are states change. States are in Maya. States are in the world of, this is the world of experience, and those states are changing. But the self is not what? Locked in to those, into Maya. The self is always free of Maya. And it doesn't change, so it can't be a state. It is the invariable awareness which, what? By virtue of which the state is known. In other words, awareness has what? Appeared as this state. And then it appears as the next state, and then it appears as the third state. It's the ground. You are the ground of being, and then what? In you, in awareness, what? Sleep appears, dream appears, and waking appears. In you. And those states are known to you. Now, whenever you experience something, do you, here comes experience, here comes an experience now. Now I'm having this experience, and the next experience is coming up. Okay? Whatever the next experience is coming up. Do you come into existence when the experience comes into existence? No. When the experience is happening, do you change with the experience? Do you disappear when the experience disappears?
No.
No. What does that mean? I'm free of experience. Doesn't it? Huh? Just think about it. I am free of experience. I'm always constantly an observer, a witness, awareness, what? And then an experience is always appearing, but what? Some experiences, we said it's in a constant state of flux. Experience that I'm having now is slowly disappearing, and the next experience is coming up. It's just a seamless circle, a seamless chakra of appearances appearing in front of awareness, the observer, the knower of those three states. That knower isn't what? Transforming. And that knower isn't available for experience. Why? Because what? The instruments are gross. The experiences are gross and unconscious. In other words, in Maya, the sentiency from awareness has been stripped off, and the experience doesn't know anything, does it? The experiencing entity doesn't know anything. The jiva, we've just talked about that. The linga sharira doesn't know anything. Why? Because it's just reflected awareness. It's not conscious. So how can it know awareness? So the self is not available for experience, is it? It's not available. So how am I going to experience it? See? So it can't be a state. There's no instruments for me to get that are capable of experiencing. The self is the one that witnesses the experience appearing in it. Experience that's generated by Maya. Maya is just what? Just like a movie projector, it's just projecting on the screen of awareness this movie. And because I don't understand that I'm the light shining through the Vasana film, projecting what? This thing. So I don't understand that. I identify with the waker or the dreamer or the deep sleeper. And I go round and round and round in this circle of experience when I'm actually free of all experience. Now look. We said, this is the person I think I am. Huh? This is the guy on my driver's license. This is the guy that they ask you for the rent here in India. Huh? When they ask you for the rent, they're asking the waker. Okay? This is the one that eats at German bakery. This is the person we think we are. Okay? Everybody basically believes they're this waking state entity. You don't think you're the dreamer, do you? No, you don't. You don't think you're the dreamer. I mean, in the dream, I strangled my wife. We were having an argument, a big fight, and I strangled her in the dream. Did I go to the police station and turn myself in when I woke up? No. Because I didn't think I was the dreamer. If I thought I was the dreamer, when I woke up, I'd go to the police and I'd say, I'm sorry, I strangled my wife, I was mad. I'm sorry, put me in jail, I deserve to be punished. No. We all think we're this person. This is who we believe we are. And we think we're real, right? When you say, somebody says, who are you? You don't say, oh, I'm not real. No, you think you're that person. You think I'm Joe or Sally or Pete or Sam or Mary or Joe, whatever you are, whatever your name is. You think you're that person. Okay, now look. What happens to this person when he or she goes to sleep? What happens to them? Where do they go? Because there's nobody here, is there? There's no person here, is there? There's the self experiencing itself here, but what about the person? Where do they go?
They weren't there in the first place.
Good. That's right. That person, that waking state entity, what? Transformed into a deep sleeper. The vritti, the idea of the waker, right, with all turned outward, changed into a different experiencer entity. Became what? A deep sleeper. And he gets a different experience here, doesn't he? But to get to here, to become this sleeper, what has to happen to this person? It's got to disappear, doesn't it? You're not going up here and experiencing this person, the guy on your driver's license. That person's not going here to experience, is it? It's got to what? It has to cease to exist to get to here. The experiencer, right, the Vishwa becomes the pranya. Pranya is called a sukshma vritti. It's a subtle vritti, it's a subtle thought. It's not complicated like here, it's just one single vritti. This is why you get the experience of limitless and bliss, because there's just one thought here. And it becomes this. Now what happens when you start dreaming? What happens to the deep sleeper when you start dreaming? It disappears. The sleeper's gone, and he transforms, he or she. It's not a he or a she, it has no gender. There's no gender. Incidentally, you're not a man or woman either. If you got any questions about that, you can forget it. You're not a man or a woman. This being, this entity, stops being a sleeper and becomes what? A dreamer. Let me finish it. Okay, we'll get to it in a minute. Okay? And then when the dream ends, what happens? Transforms back to a sleeper or goes over and wakes up. To wake up, I've got to stop dreaming, don't I? I've got to stop being this entity and become this entity. Now, hey, think about this. If I'm real, can I be this person or this person or this person? Remember what the definition of reality is?
No, because they're always changing.
Yeah, no, because that's right. Because this one exists at one point and he doesn't exist at another point. This one exists at one point and he doesn't exist at a third point. This one exists at one time and he doesn't exist here. So how real are you? Well, how do you exist?
awareness.
Absolutely. As awareness. What other, huh? Who are you? Who are you other than awareness? If you understand this, you can't go back. You can't go back to thinking you're this person anymore, can you? How are you going to do that? If you really understand this, you'll know what a fraud you are, what a total fake you are, what a total actor you are. You're just acting here. You're just, pretending that you're real. Awareness is just what? Pretending that it's awake, it's pretending that it's asleep, it's pretending that it's dreaming. You're not waking or sleeping or dreaming. Those are just states and entities that are being manufactured by Maya in awareness, in you. Yeah, not much to say about that, is it? That's the point of this Upanishad. It stops your mind. How can you continue on? That's why it's the king of the Upanishads. It's always like this dead silence. There's no yes buts after this one. Yeah, but no yeah buts. The logic is perfect. Because it's how experience is. This is just the logic of experience, which you won't what? Dig out on your own. I didn't dig this out. It's not I'm a genius because I'm teaching this. I couldn't figure it out either. I had to be taught it. Because you won't do that. You won't be able to put this analysis together on your own. Because you're all identified here. You're all experience hungry and you've got a bunch of silly ideas in your head. And you don't look at yourself objectively. All of Vedanta does is get you to look at yourself objectively. Not from the point of view of the waker or the dreamer or the deep sleeper, but from the point of view of who you actually are. Because from the point of view of who you actually are, all of this is exposed as just being a big fraud. A big dream.
A superimposition.
A superimposition, a projection, a movie. And instead of seeing myself as the screen on which the movie's playing, I see myself as one of these little characters dancing around in the movie. But who's writing the script here? Huh? You think you're the doer, you think you're doing all this stuff, but who's writing the script for this movie? Ishvara. Good. Correct. Ishvara is writing the script. You're being done here. You're not doing anything here. Ishvara is doing you. If you take yourself to be this waking state, this dream state, or this sleep state entity, you're not in charge. Things are happening. You're not the author of your actions. What does the Buddha say? Things are happening, deeds are done, there is no... What is that statement? That's very nice.
There is no individual doer thereof.
Yeah, something. And there's no doer. Deeds are done and something happens and there's no doer thereof. I wish I should learn Google that, learn it, because it's very nice. Yeah.
There's no individual doer thereof.
There's no doer. You're being done. You're just the what? The screen, the awareness in which all of these experiences and these three entities appear. thing is just what? To identify yourself as awareness and not as. Now somebody was asking me at the break, well, and how do you communicate if you know, these are all just fakes? Huh? How do you communicate with other people? You know, we were doing, huh? When everybody's just a fraud here. You're a fraud, you're a fake, and everybody else is a fake here. How do you do it? That seems like it's pretty unfair. No, you do it knowing that you're a fake and they're a fake. That's how you do it. Huh? That's how you do it. You know it's a dream, you know it's a play, you're an actor, huh? You've been given your little part, your little script, and you're just doing your little act, and it's funny. You don't take it seriously. That's how you do it. And you know what? I'm the one that knows. I'm the seer, I'm the witness. I'm the awareness, because of which this play is appearing in me. It's an entertaining drama, as long as you don't identify with one of the actors. It's very funny. It's hysterical. To watch yourself, the fool that you are, myself included, thank you. I think I'm one of the most ridiculous, funny people there is. Because I see myself as what? From awareness's point of view. This is pretty silly, what I'm talking here. Isn't it? Us all sitting in a room, trying to find ourselves. How silly is that? What a funny dream this is. If you went and told anybody that what you were doing, you went and said what you were doing, normal people would say you're nuts. Wouldn't they? Yeah. Because this is a pretty funny thing. Okay, that's Mandukya Upanishad. That's all it's supposed to do. It just proves to you that you're not who you think you are. And that only leaves one other thing for you to be. The witness, the awareness. The knower. We've got a few more verses on awareness. I didn't get a chance to get in there. Anyway, on Tuesday we'll continue to talk about the self a little more, and then we'll move on to the next verses.